The birth of Jesus is one of the most significant events in Christian history, and the story of the virgin birth is central to Christian faith and belief. The virgin birth is the belief that Jesus was conceived in the womb of Mary, his mother, through the Holy Spirit, without a human father. This miracle is considered to be a key element of Jesus' divine nature and identity, and has been a subject of intense debate and reflection over the centuries. The story of the virgin birth is told in the New Testament of the Bible, in the Gospels of Matthew and Luke. According to these accounts, Mary was a young woman who was engaged to Joseph, but had not yet consummated their relationship. One day, she was visited by the angel Gabriel, who told her that she would conceive a child by the Holy Spirit, and that this child would be the Son of God. Mary accepted this message, and soon after, she became pregnant. The story of the virgin birth has been a subject of intense debate and controversy throughout Christian history. Some critics have argued that the story is a myth or a legend, and that it has no basis in historical fact. Others have suggested that the story is a symbolic or metaphorical expression of Jesus' divine nature, rather than a literal account of his conception. Despite these debates, the story of the virgin birth remains a central tenet of Christian faith and belief. It is seen as a sign of God's power and presence in the world, and a reminder of the unique and special nature of Jesus' identity as both fully human and fully divine. The story is also seen as a source of inspiration and hope for Christians, who see in it a message of God's love and grace for all people, regardless of their background or circumstances. One of the key theological implications of the virgin birth is the idea of the Incarnation. The Incarnation is the belief that God became fully human in the person of Jesus Christ, and that through this act of divine self-revelation, God has shown us the way to true life and salvation. The virgin birth is seen as a sign of the divine nature of Jesus, and as a symbol of God's loving and gracious presence in the world. The story of the virgin birth has also had a significant impact on Christian art and culture. The image of Mary holding the baby Jesus, known as the Madonna and Child, has been a popular subject for artists throughout the centuries, and has been depicted in countless works of art, ranging from paintings and sculptures to stained glass windows and frescoes. The story of the virgin birth has also been a popular subject in literature and music, with countless hymns, carols, and poems written about this miracle. One of the key theological implications of the virgin birth is its connection to the concept of sin and salvation. The Bible teaches that all human beings have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God, and that the wages of sin is death. However, the story of the virgin birth offers a way out of this predicament. By being born of a virgin, Jesus was able to enter the world without inheriting the sin and guilt of humanity. This allowed him to live a sinless life and offer himself as a sacrifice for the sins of the world. The idea of the virgin birth as a way of overcoming sin and death has been central to Christian theology and belief for centuries. It is seen as a sign of God's love and grace for all people, and a reminder of the power of redemption and salvation. This belief is reflected in the words of the Apostles' Creed, which states that Jesus was conceived by the Holy Spirit, born of the Virgin Mary, suffered under Pontius Pilate, was crucified, died, and was buried, and on the third day he rose again from the dead. The story of the virgin birth also has implications for our understanding of gender and sexuality. The fact that Jesus was born of a virgin challenges the traditional understanding of procreation and human sexuality. It suggests that there is a divine element to human life and reproduction that transcends the limitations of biological reproduction. This has led some theologians to explore new ways of understanding gender and sexuality, and to challenge traditional attitudes and beliefs about these issues. The story of the virgin birth has also had a significant impact on Christian worship and practice. The Christmas season, which celebrates the birth of Jesus, is one of the most important times of the year for Christians, and is marked by a variety of religious and cultural practices, including the exchange of gifts, the singing of carols, and the decoration of Christmas trees. The story of the virgin birth is also a central theme in many of these practices, and is reflected in the imagery and symbolism of the season. The story of the virgin birth has also been the subject of a great deal of historical and theological scholarship. Scholars have debated the historical accuracy of the story, and have explored its theological implications for Christian belief and practice. Some scholars have suggested that the story of the virgin birth was a later addition to the Gospels, and that it was not part of the original accounts of Jesus' life and ministry. Others have argued that the story is a symbolic or metaphorical expression of Jesus' divine nature, rather than a literal account of his conception. Despite the debates and controversies that surround the story of the virgin birth, it remains a central tenet of Christian faith and belief. For Christians, the story is a reminder of the power of God's love and grace, and a sign of the unique and special nature of Jesus' identity as both fully human and fully divine. It is a source of inspiration and hope, and a reminder of the possibility of redemption and salvation for all people. One of the fascinating aspects of the story of the virgin birth is its cultural and historical context. In the Jewish culture of the time, it was common for women to be betrothed or engaged to a man before they were married. A betrothal was a legally binding contract that could only be broken by a formal divorce, and it was considered as binding as a marriage. However, during the period of betrothal, the couple did not live together or engage in sexual relations. Mary's pregnancy, while still betrothed to Joseph, was therefore scandalous and could have resulted in serious consequences for her, including stoning. However, the Bible tells us that Joseph was a righteous man who was reluctant to publicly disgrace Mary, and chose to quietly end the betrothal instead. This further highlights the miraculous nature of the virgin birth, and the faith and trust that Joseph and Mary had in God's plan for their lives. The story of the virgin birth has also been a source of controversy and debate within the Christian community. Some theologians and scholars have questioned the historical accuracy of the story, and have suggested that it was a later addition to the Gospels. Others have argued that the story is a symbolic or metaphorical expression of Jesus' divine nature, rather than a literal account of his conception. Despite these debates, the story of the virgin birth continues to be a fundamental and enduring part of Christian faith and belief. It speaks to the unique and special nature of Jesus' identity, and offers a way of understanding the profound love and grace of God for all people. Moreover, the story of the virgin birth has also been the subject of artistic and cultural representations, such as in literature, music, and visual arts. Christmas carols and hymns, such as Silent Night and Hark the Herald Angels Sing, prominently feature the virgin birth in their lyrics. The story has also been the subject of many artistic depictions, ranging from the religiously inspired works of the Renaissance to modern-day pop culture interpretations. The story of the virgin birth has also had an impact beyond the Christian faith, and has been a subject of interest and exploration in other religious and philosophical traditions. For example, some scholars have noted parallels between the virgin birth and other birth stories in ancient religious traditions, such as the birth of Horus in Egyptian mythology or the birth of Buddha in Buddhist tradition. In recent years, the story of the virgin birth has also become the subject of scientific inquiry and speculation. Some researchers have suggested that the virgin birth may have been the result of a rare genetic condition known as parthenogenesis, in which an egg can develop into an embryo without fertilization by a sperm. While this hypothesis remains controversial and unproven, it underscores the ongoing fascination and curiosity that the story of the virgin birth continues to evoke. In conclusion, the story of the virgin birth is a rich and multifaceted aspect of Christian faith and belief. It offers a way of understanding the unique and special nature of Jesus' identity, and has theological implications for our understanding of sin, redemption, and salvation. It has also had a significant impact on Christian worship, art, and culture, and has been a subject of ongoing debate, inquiry, and fascination. As we continue to explore and interpret the story of the virgin birth, we are reminded of the power and mystery of God's love and grace, and of the enduring significance of this miraculous event.